Chapter 6. The Moon Conglomerate. The Moon Conglomerate headquarters towered over Seokhwa like a cathedral to capitalism, its mirrored facade catching the late morning sun in sharp flashes that made Ji-eun squint as she approached. The building sat apart from the rest of the town, a clean, modern anomaly that seemed out of place against Seokhwa's coastal charm and traditional buildings. It wasn't just a structure, it was a statement, one that read, "We own this town." Ji-eun paused just before the entrance. The glass doors reflected her image back at her, a lone woman in a navy coat with a satchel slung over one shoulder, hair pulled back hastily in the mirror of a train bathroom. She looked calm, professional. No one would see the way her fingers trembled inside her pockets. Taking a breath, she stepped through the revolving doors. Inside, the lobby was hushed and pristine. High ceilings, cold white marble underfoot. A receptionist sat behind a minimalist desk, typing soundlessly. A faint instrumental version of Vivaldi's Winter drifted through the air. Ji-eun gave her name. The woman didn't smile. "You're expected," she said, handing Ji-eun a temporary ID badge. 20th floor, conference room heiress. The elevator opened almost before Ji-eun pressed the button. She stepped in, surrounded by mirrored walls and silence. As the floor numbers blinked upward, she felt her heart pound in time. She had prepared for this moment, notes reviewed, questions rehearsed. But nothing could prepare her for the weight of walking into the lion's den. The Moon family was not just Seokhwa's richest family. They were Seokhwa's shadow government. Everyone owed them something: employment, land, silence. When the doors opened with a chime, she found herself in a hallway as stark and precise as the lobby. Recessed lighting cast a clinical glow over a series of framed black and white portraits, stoic men and women from the Moon lineage, their expressions severe. No smiles, no warmth. Conference room iris was the last door on the right. It opened with a soft beep as she approached. And there she was. Moon Hae-jin stood at the far end of the room, back turned, gazing out the wall-length window that looked down upon the rest of Seokhwa. She wore a high-collared charcoal gray blazer, her long dark hair gathered in a low chignon. Everything about her was sharp, elegant, and untouchable. "You're early," Hae-jin said, her voice calm and crystalline, still not turning. "I find early arrivals leave better impressions," Ji-eun replied evenly. Hae-jin turned, her gaze sweeping over Ji-eun with cool appraisal. "Or they come with too much curiosity." Ji-eun didn't flinch, only the kind that helps tell the truth. Hae-jin gestured to a seat. "Then let's get started." The table between them was long, sleek, and empty, except for a single glass of water placed meticulously in front of each seat. Ji-eun sat and took out her notebook, although she had already memorized her opening line. "You've spearheaded the Seokhwa Renewal Initiative. What motivated the Moon Conglomerate to reinvest in this town after so many years of silence?" Hae-jin crossed her legs and leaned back, her expression unreadable. "My father believes in preserving legacy. We are a family rooted in this town. It makes sense to give back." "Some would say the Moon family never left," Ji-eun said softly, her pen hovering above the page. "That you've never stopped controlling Seokhwa." There was the smallest flicker in Hae-jin's eyes. Not offense, calculation. "Control is a matter of perception, Miss Seo. We provide employment, infrastructure, education. We have a responsibility. Responsibility can become possession." Hae-jin's lips curved slightly. "You're not here for fluff, are you?" Ji-eun lowered her pen. "I'm here for truth, even if it's hidden behind marble walls and glossy PR campaigns." There was a beat of silence between them. Then, unexpectedly, Hae-jin stood and walked to the window again. Below, the coastal edge of Seokhwa glittered under sunlight. Fishing boats dotted the bay like slow-moving stars. "Do you remember the first time you visited this building?" Hae-jin asked without turning. Ji-eun blinked. "I've never." "You did," Hae-jin interrupted. "You were a child. Your mother brought you here once. She used to clean for the upper floors. You waited by the lobby fountain, drawing shapes in the condensation on the glass." The memory struck Ji-eun like a gust of cold wind. She had almost forgotten. She had been 6 or 7. Her mother had taken a cleaning job to help make ends meet. She remembered the fountain, the marble koi. "I didn't realize you remembered me," Ji-eun murmured. "I remember everyone," Hae-jin said, "especially the ones who come back." Silence settled again. Ji-eun could feel the pull between them, some invisible tension that was both personal and ancestral. She decided to push further. "Do you remember my mother's death?" Hae-jin didn't flinch. It was ruled an accident. "That's not what I asked." For the first time, a shadow crossed Hae-jin's features. "I was overseas when it happened. In Switzerland. I returned 2 weeks after." Ji-eun studied her, "And yet you took over everything seamlessly." "My absence didn't undo my inheritance," Hae-jin said. "If you're implying we had something to do with it." "I'm not implying," Ji-eun interrupted. "I'm investigating." Hae-jin's jaw tightened, but her voice remained cool. "Then you should be careful where you dig." There it was. The threat. Soft, veiled in velvet, but unmistakable. Was my mother working for the Moon family again before she died? Ji-eun asked quietly. "Off the books?" Hae-jin turned sharply this time. "That's not a question I can answer." "Or won't?" Hae-jin walked back to the table and placed her hands on the surface, leaning slightly forward. "You think you're the first to come looking for ghosts in this town, Miss Seo? You're not. But Seokhwa buries its dead deep, and those who try to exhume them rarely survive the digging." Ji-eun met her gaze. "I'm not afraid of dirt." "No," Hae-jin said softly, straightening. "But you should be afraid of what's under it." The meeting ended shortly after that. Hae-jin offered no additional comment, no parting smile. She returned to the window, her silhouette framed by sunlight, as Ji-eun gathered her things and left. In the elevator, Ji-eun's hands shook, not from fear, but from adrenaline. Something had cracked during that meeting, not just Hae-jin's cold facade, but something deeper, a gap, a fracture. She was getting closer. Back on the street, Ji-eun paused and looked up at the towering glass building again. The sun had begun to dip, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. The Moon Conglomerate stood tall and pristine, its secrets hidden behind spotless walls. But secrets never stayed buried forever. She opened her notebook and scribbled a single line beneath her meeting notes. "Moon Hae-jin knows something, and she's terrified I'll find out."